The stock market is tanking, President Trump is buying a Tesla, and smart economists are still betting on a new golden age. Those things are all happening. They're all connected. And any analyst, political or economic, who is surprised by any of it simply does not understand the present state of American politics. I'm Michael Knowles. This is The Michael Knowles Show. A Republican congressman just referred to a Democrat congressman, a male congressman, as Mr., and this prompted another Democrat congressman, a 72-year-old congressman, to start yelling at the Republican congressman because he said it was offensive and disrespectful and inappropriate to call the man Mr. We will be speaking with the Republican congressman at the center of this congressional dust-up later on in the show. First, I want to tell you about Vandy Crisps. Go to vandycrisps.com/discount/Knowles. You know how much I love Vandy Crisps. They are the greatest potato chip I can't even call it a potato chip. It's so much better than the average potato chip. It is almost like another thing. Potato chips were not always just snack food. Back in the mid-19th century, they were accidentally invented by Cornelius Vanderbilt himself, a man who knew the finer things, when he complained that his potatoes were not thin enough, and the chef sent them back extra crispy. They became the hottest high-end finger food in America, and here's the thing. They were made with real beef tallow, not processed oils, and that is why Vandy Crisps was created. It's the first real potato chip you've probably ever tasted, made the way they were made 100 years ago with just 3 ingredients. Heirloom potatoes, grass-fed beef tallow, and sea salt. That's it. And that grass-fed tallow is not just for flavor. It's packed with nutrients that are great for your brain, skin, and hormones. They're just phenomenal. I don't know how else to put it. They're worth pretty much any amount of money. But luckily, right now, you can go to vandycrisps.com/discount/Knowles and you get 20% off your order. Go to vandycrisps.com/discount/Knowles. The market is absolutely tanking. There is no question about it. We are in for some serious market turmoil. If you have a 401k, if you have an IRA, if you invest in any way in the market, if you just participate in the economy, even if you don't invest directly or even indirectly, even if you're just going to the grocery store and you like it when the economy keeps moving and you can keep getting your paycheck and paying your bills, you're probably a little bit worried right now. Right. I know. That's all real. Some political analysts and economic analysts are saying, this Donald Trump, he has no idea what he's doing. This is a complete disaster. Or they'll point to the people around Trump. They'll point to Elon Musk, for instance, who's got a really prominent role in this administration. They'll see this Elon Musk, he has no idea what he's doing. He's helping to destroy the economy. This is Elon Musk, richest man in the world, running 5 of the most prominent businesses on planet Earth. He doesn't know what he's doing. These lunatics, they're just screwing everything up and messing up the economy. So much so that yesterday at the White House, President Trump had to buy a Tesla to try to buoy Elon Musk's car company. Now, Trump actually did buy a Tesla yesterday at the White House. It was really, really beautiful. Take a listen just to give you context of what's really going on in politics and the economy.
Somebody that's been so good to our country. He didn't have to do this. He didn't have to go through this. And we can't let it happen. And aside from that, I happen to love the product. It's a lot nicer if you also happen to love the product, and he's done a really good job. Go ahead, Peter.
Is there, I guess this is for Elon Musk, is there a discount? President Trump wrote the art of the deal. Is there any kind of room for negotiating?
Let me answer that. I know he'd give me a discount, but honestly, I don't want to ask for one. I'm president, and so I want to pay full price.
And what is your message, President Trump? Buying a new car while there are some folks who will see this clip at home and they are struggling with their retirement accounts down at the moment, uncertainty about work ahead.
Well, I think they're going to do great. I think our country had to do this. We had to go and do this. They've taken away, other countries have taken away our business. They've taken away our jobs. I did it initially very strongly against, as you know, China and some others in the first term. And it was a very successful term.
Okay, so first of all, It's great. The aura, the aesthetics, it's all great. Here you have President Trump, brash billionaire celebrity for almost half a century now, buying the cool, shiny, hip car next to the world's richest man, who's also a rocket ship maker, who's a meme king, who is plugging people's brains into computers. It's just cool. It's cool. You can't picture Joe Biden doing that. You can't picture George Bush doing that. You can't even really picture Bill Clinton doing it, though he's the closest. It's cool. Why is he doing it? Well, as he says, it is to help buoy Tesla. Tesla stock is down something like 48% since the inauguration. This is obviously connected to Musk's role in the administration. It's not because people stopped liking Teslas all of a sudden, because the radio doesn't work. It's not because the car companies stopped being cool. If anything, the car companies gotten much cooler now that they've rolled out self-driving, which is incredible. I was driving around in a Cybertruck the other day, in Jeremy's Cybertruck, and the self-driving is unbelievable. So it's not anything that the company is doing. It's that there is a political movement to kill Elon Musk's company, to punish Elon Musk for helping President Trump to make America great again. That's it. And that's what Trump says. He says, this guy didn't have to do it. He sacrificed a lot to help out the American people. He campaigned with me. He helped my campaign. He donated. He spoke on the campaign trail. People knew what they were getting when they voted for me. And now I'm going to unleash him to make the federal government more efficient. So Trump is showing he's loyal. Some people say Trump isn't loyal because he fires people over tweets. But to people who are loyal to Trump, Trump tends to be loyal to them. And Trump is showing that here. But furthermore, he's showing that he's serious about buying American. Tesla is the most American car company I can even think of these days. There were other great American car companies in the past, but right now, this is an American car company. These cars are made in America, designed in America. They're for Americans primarily. So Trump is saying, I really believe in rebuilding American industry, reshoring, manufacturing, bring stuff that we can build to America. Third thing, though, and this is what is key for the markets and for people who are worried about their 401ks or their portfolios. Trump knew this was going to happen. When he's asked about the market taking a tumble, I've spoken to even friends of mine in political media and political pundits, and they'll say, oh, Trump, he just follows the markets. He just follows the headlines. He's going to get spooked if the market starts to tumble. I said, I don't think so, because Trump has been saying for weeks and months, really, that there might be a little short-term economic pain from his program, but we have to do it. It's going to lead to long-term economic gain. But more importantly, as Trump just said there in that press conference with Elon Musk, we had to do it. Trump did not run in 2024 on making the market reach record highs immediately again. That's not what he ran on. He ran on tariffs. He ran on bringing back American industry. He ran on necessarily raising the cost of certain goods, imported goods, to help rebuild the American industrial base. He ran against the globalist economic order. Okay. He ran with full knowledge and consciousness that will necessarily cause some economic turmoil in the short term. But he says it's going to be worth it in the long term, and even more importantly, we have to do it. If you still believe, don't forget, most American voters voted for Trump. And they voted for Trump as he was promising, as he was declaring that the current economic order doesn't work for America. Offshoring all of our manufacturing damages national security. It's damaged the flyover states, those small American towns that used to have robust economies. All that stuff's been shipped overseas. It's damaged the American family. It's gutted the American family. It's led to American men to die deaths of despair from suicide and drug addiction. It's flooded our country with cheap imported goods made by slave labor in China, but it has hollowed out American society. And it's left us very vulnerable, as we saw during COVID when our supply chains were disrupted and we couldn't get stuff anymore. That's what he ran on. To undo the economic and political and social damage of the last 30, 40 years is going to cause some tension, some pain. The market might not react all that well to it. Trump campaigned on that. He knows that's what he's signing up for. So my read on the situation is he's not going to get spooked by a bad headline or two. He's a sophisticated political thinker, no matter what his enemies think. And he knows that in order to be a consequential president, for one, to have a serious legacy, and in order to actually fix the problems, not just the symptoms of the problems, but the root economic, political, and social problems, he's got to make big changes, and he's got to be able to withstand that storm. I think he knows all of that, which frankly should calm the markets, because it means that for all of Trump's apparently erratic talk about tariffs, now they're on, now they're off, now we're going to levy them on this country, now on that country, now forget about this country again. For all of that, Trump has a stable vision here. The broad economic vision has remained the same from his inauguration, before that, from the campaign trail, really going back to his first run for president, and even going back to the 80s when he was complaining about the same kinds of economic problems and social consequences of those problems that he was talking about when he ran for president. You don't even just have to take my word for it. You don't have to try to read the tea leaves of Trump when he's buying the cool car in front of Elon Musk. The White House, from the briefing room through the person of Caroline Leavitt, the president's spokesman, has just said almost exactly the same thing, which we'll get to in a second. First, though, speaking of wealth, I want to tell you about Birch Gold. Text Knowles to 989898. Smart investors prepare ahead of time, just like keeping a life jacket handy before setting sail. That is why many people are adding gold to their portfolios, leading to record gold prices in early 2025. As someone who has a fair bit of gold in his portfolio, I'm glad that I do. And these days, watching the market, I'm really glad that I have a fair bit of gold in my portfolio. There's still a great opportunity for you to diversify and strengthen your financial future amid volatility. When it comes to diversifying into physical gold, I personally trust Birch Gold. I turn to Birch Gold for all of my big gold questions. Their specialty? Helping you convert your existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA backed by physical gold without any out-of-pocket costs. One 5-star review said it perfectly. Knowledgeable, helpful, non-pressure. That is exactly why I've stood behind Birch Gold for years. They deliver exactly what they promise. Get your free info kit on gold by texting Knowles to 989898. No obligation, just useful information. A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. Countless 5-star reviews. Text Knowles, K-N-W-L-E-S, to 989898. Let the experts at Birch Gold help you secure your future today with gold. Also, folks, do I have a cigar lighter on me? I don't know that I do, so I might have to use my silly grill lighter. Okay, that's good. I have a backup lighter here. It's actually, these are good for candles. The Smells and Bells candles, folks. This is it. We are in Lent. This is the first full week of Lent, and you want your home to smell like a 12th century monastery. So make sure you go to thecandleclub.com and get the Smells and Bells candle. As spring is around the corner, we have a new candle that is really near and dear to my heart. It goes back to some of my sweetest memories of childhood, maybe some of your sweetest memories from childhood. I'm not going to tell you the name of that candle yet. Just wait. Go get your Smells and Bells. Then we got the new ones coming around the pike. So get your Smells and Bells, burn that one down, make your home smell beautiful, and then we'll get ready for spring. All this economic stuff, Trump buying the Tesla, Trump reacting to the falling markets, Trump threatening tariffs on all these other countries. This is not just Trump shooting from the hip. Here is Caroline Leavitt, White House press secretary, explaining what's going on.
Our country has lost more than 5 million jobs in more than 90,000 factories due to devastating globalization over the last 3 decades alone. North Carolina lost 300,000 manufacturing jobs, including 60% of its furniture manufacturing jobs in the years following NAFTA. And in Michigan, globalist policies destroyed 250,000 jobs, including 40% of the auto industry, which again we know is clawing back because of President Trump's action already. These are harrowing statistics that represent countless towns and families who have been completely destroyed. But the America Last globalist era is ending under President Trump. He will no longer allow our country and our workers, our hard-working American families, to be ripped off.
This is it. She's saying this isn't about the Dow dropped 3 points. This isn't about, oh no, look at the squiggles on the S&P 500 chart from the past 2 days. This is about 30 years of liberal globalism. This is about an upending of the American economic and therefore political and social order. And Trump he's not just aiming to boost your 401ks for a week or two. In the long run, this will hopefully boost all of our wealth. But this is about an overextended American empire that has hollowed out its middle class, that has abandoned its constituents, a dying nation that isn't having children, that isn't forming families, where the men are killing themselves, are literally killing themselves. It's about fixing that. Because if we don't fix that, if we only focus on pushing GDP up a little bit more consistently, if we only focus on making sure that market is still just really at the tippy top, we are going, like all empires, to overextend ourselves and collapse. And we need to make sure we still have a strong country that can live to fight another day and that can be made great again. That's what this is about. And it's not, you don't just accidentally fall into that economic policy. That is conscious. Whether you agree with it or not, you can't say it's all just an accident, it's all just a mistake. That is a conscious policy. I happen to think it's the smart one in the long run. The other proof that Trump is not just totally screwing up and the Republican Party's on the ropes or whatever is that the smartest Democrats right now are not licking their chops for the next election. The smartest Democrats right now are not cheering all of this on. They're nervous. I think one of the smarter Democrat voices out there is Van Jones. He goes on CNN. This is what he had to say about the future of the Democrat Party.
Can we ask another question? Do I have to talk about my own party? Can we talk about Ukraine or something? No. Look, man, we're screwed. I mean, we don't know. No, Democrats don't know what to do. This is a nightmare. Somebody like Donald Trump, we thought we'd at least have Hakeem Jeffries in the speaker's chair to hold him back if we didn't have Kamala in there to do the right thing. Listen, the Democratic Party is going through a massive set of internal crises. You have a party that got trapped two ways. One, defending a broken status quo that nobody likes because they thought that Donald Trump was going to make it worse. But when you're defending the status quo, you're going to lose. And then offending most people in the country, calling everybody sexist and racist and transphobic and every other name, and then saying, please follow us. That's not a good strategy, folks. Defending a broken status quo and offending most of the country turns out is not as popular as my party thought it was going to be.
I love it. I love the candor here. So, hey, Van Jones, what do you think about the future of the Democrat Party? Like, can we talk about anything else? I'd rather talk about Ukraine. I'd rather talk about Gaza. I don't know. Give me an easy issue, not the future of the Democrat Party. It's a nightmare. Don't forget, this is the same Van Jones who, back in, 2017, when he was publicly still defending the Democrats and he was publicly still attacking Trump, he was caught on a hidden camera admitting, this Russia hoax, it's a nothing burger. The Russia thing, these attacks on Trump, it's nothing. It's going nowhere. He is a fairly sober analyst. So you have very prominent, smart Democrats who are saying, what Trump's doing right now, it's still pretty good. And then you got Trump saying, look, I know, guys, I predicted that this would happen. I know what I'm doing. I would say, don't freak out. Everyone freaks out. Trump does something or something happens in politics. Everyone freaks out. Take a deep breath. Wait 24 hours. Okay, think about Reagan. Reagan, right in the early part of his first term, he recognized there were going to be economic problems, and he just kind of leaned into it so that they could get through the worst of it, have a recovery, go on, and have morning in America. Now, some libs are actually leaving the country over this stuff. One of them being Rosie O'Donnell. The liberals have said for years, if Trump gets elected, not even just Trump, if Bush gets elected, if any Republican gets elected, I'm going to leave the country. And then they never do because America's really nice and pleasant. They don't actually want to go anywhere else. Rosie O'Donnell made good on the thread. She has moved out of the country because of Donald Trump.
And I'm here in Ireland. And it's beautiful and warm, not physically. It's actually quite cold. Moved here on January 15th. And it's been pretty wonderful, I have to say. The people are so loving and so kind, so welcoming, and I'm very grateful. I'm in the process of getting my Irish citizenship, as I have Irish grandparents, and that's what's going on, and that's where I've been and what I've been doing. And although I was never someone who thought I would move to another country, that's what I decided would be the best for myself and my 12-year-old. And when, it is safe for all citizens to have equal rights there, in America, that's when we will consider coming back.
Okay, first of all, say what you will about Rosie. You got to give her credit. She's basically the only lib who's actually made good on the threat to leave the country if the Republican wins. So, you know what, there's a kind of integrity to that. You got to give credit where credit's due. But the more interesting statement she makes for our politics is when she says, I'm going to come back when it's safe for people to have equal rights. What does she mean by that, for people to have equal rights? Among Democrats these days, when you hear rights talk, well, they talk about abortion frequently. We'll get to that in 1 second because Ben & Jerry's, the ice cream company, has just come out in favor of slaughtering little babies. So maybe she's talking about the right, so-called, to kill, of mothers to kill their children. But in the same breath, she says, and I want my child to be safe until we can come back to America. So maybe she's talking about that. But even more commonly right now, when we hear about this rights talk in the Democrat Party, it usually has to do with identity politics, LGBT rights, the rights of transgender people especially. That was a big talking point from the Democrats in this last election. And it gets to one of the real sicknesses in American politics that's been building for many, many decades now, which is really maybe centuries now, which is the obsession with rights talk. That if you went into the ancient world, you wouldn't hear a lot of political debates about rights. In the Middle Ages, you didn't hear a lot of political debates about rights. You heard debates about justice. You heard debates about natural law. You heard debates about obligations. You heard debates about freedom and liberty in the sense of a polity's right to a proper sovereignty. But you didn't hear all this like rights talk. And increasingly, you hear all sorts of claims of rights. Which reminds me of a line from the political philosopher John Gray, who says the rights talk is not really legal. It's not about making a claim that some legitimate liberty has been denied to someone over time, but rather it is, in his words, quote, political self-assertion of collective identities. This is the key here, I think, to understanding all the rights talk. It is political self-assertion of collective identities. When we say LGBT rights, the rights of gay people to get married, the normal response to that would be, everyone's always had the right to get married. Gay people, this people, whatever people you want to say, everyone's had the right to get married. It's just that marriage was always understood to mean the union of a man and a woman for order toward the begetting and education of children. So to say the right to gay marriage is to change the definition of marriage, but even more so, it's to assert that there is a collective identity known as the gays or the lesbians, or it's even clearer with transgenderism. Sometimes you will hear pro-trans activists say that people like me deny their existence. And then the conservatives respond and we say, no, we think you exist. You manifestly exist. You're right here before me speaking and breathing and you're taking up space. But that's not what they mean. When they say you're denying our existence, what they don't mean you're denying our individual existence. They mean you're denying our existence as a political group. And on that point, they're right. They're in that way that when they say we want trans rights, you need to accept our existence, they're speaking less from political philosophy than from the kind of brute negotiations of a labor union. You will deal with us. We are a thing. We're a power. We're a force. That's what it's really about. And so they have a point there because we would say, no, there is no such category, political category as transgender people, because that asserts a false account of human nature, that it's not really possible for a man to be a woman or to be born in the wrong body or whatever. So yeah, we deny the political collective existence of that group. We don't deny your existence as an individual. We just think you're mistaken about human nature. That's what all the rights talk is about. So what it's really about is hiding political disagreement in the guise of legal language. And what it does in practice is it takes legitimate political debates that should be fought out in the legislature or among citizens. It moves them to the courts, and it forces activist lawyers to rewrite the law and pretend that this is a matter of legality and right, when in fact it's just ordinary political debates that are taken out of the sphere of the political, taken away from the people to decide through self-government. And when they lose those battles, then I guess people like Rosie O'Donnell are going to take themselves out of the country. Now, for me, America is my home. And when you want to protect your home, you got to check out Home Title Lock. Go to HomeTitleLock.com, use promo code Knowles250. Did you know that scammers can steal your home right out from under you? The FBI calls it house stealing. It's a growing real estate scam targeting American homeowners. Here's how it works. The criminals forge your signature on one document. That's all it takes, one document. They use a fake notary stamp. They pay a small fee. They file it with your local recorder's office. Just like that, your home title has been transferred out of your name. Then they can take out loans using your equity as collateral or even sell the property behind your back. You won't even know it's happening until you start getting collection or foreclosure notices. When was the last time you checked on your home title? If your answer is never, that is what the scammers are counting on. That is why I trust Home Title Lock. This is a little bit of a personal issue for me. A beloved family member who was scammed out of her home, and it causes immense damage. Let's just leave it at that. It causes immense damage. Don't let yourself be scammed. Their $1 million triple lock protection helps keep your home and equity safe. Here is what you get: immediate 24/7 monitoring of your property, urgent alerts if there are any changes. If fraud should happen, their U.S.-based restoration team will spend up to $1 million to fix the fraud and restore your title at no additional cost. Right now, go to HomeTitleLock.com, use promo code Knowles, Knowles, 250, get a free title history report to make sure you're not already a victim. Get a personal title expert. That is a $250 value. HomeTitleLock.com, promo code Knowles, 250. Speaking of leftist identity, Ben & Jerry's has come out in favor of another lib cause. Okay, we all know Ben & Jerry's are big libs. This one, though, seems beyond the pale. Ben & Jerry's posts on social media. Today is National Abortion Provider Appreciation Day. We stand with abortion providers today and every day. Learn more and take action now. And then they have a picture. Abortion care providers are being threatened across the country. Here's why we need to stand with them today and every day. This is an ice cream company. Who eats ice cream? Everyone eats ice cream. Ice cream, you scream, we all scream for ice cream. Who primarily eats ice cream? Little kids. This is maybe the most ghastly aspect of this post. So they're saying, hey, everyone, celebrate the people who murder specifically our customers. We all know Ben & Jerry's are libs. We can look past the Bernie simping. They do Bernie ice cream. You know, we can look past all the hippie gimmicks on their packaging because the ice cream is perfectly fine. The open celebration of murderers, of the most innocent, vulnerable people in the world, that's a step too far for me. They're not even saying celebrate women and women's rights. They're not even using all the euphemisms that the left usually uses. They're just coming out and saying, we celebrate abortionists. The guys with the forceps and the knives and the poison, we celebrate them because they murder babies. I can't. This is so psycho. This is such psycho behavior from Ben & Jerry's. I can never eat their garbage again. I don't call for boycotts a lot because if you try to call for boycotts all the time, they don't generally work. And I recognize that if you want to participate in the economy at all, you know, often that requires some kind of extremely remote cooperation with evil, at least. This is too much. This is too much. This is complete psycho behavior. No person of good conscience could possibly eat their garbage again. Ben & Jerry's is completely dead to me. It should be dead to you. There should be a nationwide boycott. Their company should go out of business for their missteps. This is horrifying. It reveals a degree of moral depravity on the part of the people who run this company that even I did not expect, and I had low expectations of these people. It is absolutely revolting. And now, because of what they've posted, I find their ice cream, which previously I thought tasted just fine. It's not my favorite ice cream. It's not the worst ice cream. It's perfectly fine tasting ice cream previously. I am so revolted by their extreme degeneracy and wickedness that I cannot eat another bite of their ice cream. And there should be a nationwide boycott, and that company should be driven out of business by a lack of customers because of their disgusting and profoundly evil actions. Okay. Now, speaking of, there's a lot of in our culture. I mentioned to you the top of the show, there's a big dust up in Congress because a Republican member of Congress referred to a Democrat member of Congress, who is a man, as Mr. That's how members refer to it. Well, Mr. And so he does this. Then the Democrat member of Congress makes a little snide remark about it. And then another Democrat member of Congress he starts popping blood vessels, basically, because the Republican referred to a man as Mr. If you didn't see the clip, take a look.
I now recognize the representative from Delaware, Mr. McBride.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ranking Member Keating, also wonderful.
Mr. Chairman, could you repeat your introduction again, please?
Yes, we have set the standard on the floor of the House, and I'm simply...
What is that standard, Mr. Chairman? Would you repeat what you just said when you introduced a duly elected representative from the United States of America? Please.
I will. The representative from Delaware, Mr. McBride.
Mr. Chairman, you are out of order. Mr. Chairman, have you no decency? I've come to know you a little bit, but this is not decent.
We will continue this
You
hearing.
will not continue it with me unless you introduce a duly elected representative the right way.
This hearing is adjourned.
We're joined now by Representative Keith Self. Congressman, thank you very much for taking the time to come on the show.
You bet.
Congressman, am I watching a proceeding of the United States Congress, or am I watching a Monty Python sketch?
Well, that was a hearing in the United States Congress, so absolutely. Tried to introduce our last speaker on the panel, and you just played the clip of what happened.
So for the background for people who don't know, there is a representative who was just elected from Delaware, Tim McBride. He calls himself Sarah now, and he says that he's a woman. And there are plenty of people in America who do that these days because there's a lot of... however, just because someone says that he is the opposite sex doesn't mean that he has the right to force other people to lie. It's one thing to say, I'm Sally, call me she, but I can't force someone to lie. And this was decided, as you mentioned, by the House, that now that we have the first trans identifying member of the House, we have to figure out, do we call them by their real sex? Do we call them by their sex? What is the right thing to do? And so, as I think we're alluding to there, the House has come to a decision on this. What did the House conclude?
Well, it wasn't the House, but Mary Miller introduced Mr. McBride on the floor of the House the first time he was introduced anywhere in Congress as Mr. McBride. He made absolutely no complaint whatsoever. Now, the congressional record was wrong, and we had to go back in and convince the congressional recorder to change the congressional record to what was actually said. So this is a fight that has started, and that's what I referenced, is we've set the standard now in the congressional record that Mr. McBride will be referred to as Mr. McBride.
So simple enough. It seems to me that establishes the standard, even if there's not some big bill or something like that. You say, okay, it's in the congressional record. No one's made a big hullabaloo about this. We consciously fought this out, and it bears on common sense. Why does it matter? What do you say to your Democrat colleague there, the ranking member, who starts raising his voice, threatens to walk out of the proceeding because you referred to a man as Mr.? What do you say to those people who say it is disrespectful for you to call a man who thinks he's a woman Mr.?
Well, Michael, I'm a retired Green Beret. I'm not even sure what all the fuss is about. I mean, he is allowed to live his life. In fact, I spent 25 years on active duty defending his right to live his life as he chooses. But I don't have to participate in his. So I am under no obligation to participate in something that he chooses to portray himself as.
I also wonder if part of the reason the Democrats are making such a big deal about this is they know that This is a live political issue, the transgender issue. Can a man really become a woman? If that's true, then can little children become the opposite sex? Should we push this stuff in schools? Should we permit kids to go on puberty blockers that could lead to sterilization, early death, all the rest? I mean, these are live political. Should men play in women's sports? Very live political questions, big in the last election. I wonder if the ranking member there, the Democrat, or Mr. McBride, who jokingly referred to you as Madam Speaker to kind of zing you there, if they realize that, the reason these words matter so much is the minute that you or any other Republican refers to this man as Miss or Madam or Mrs. or something, then you have implicitly accepted the transgender ideology and the whole debate is over.
Absolutely. You just articulated perfectly the position that we should take as a society. They are allowed to live their life, but the damage that they are doing to our children, we must realize. Where are the Democrats when a young lady gets injured by a male playing in a volleyball game? They don't have a word to say about it. So this is what we have got to stand against. And if Congress doesn't stand against it, who is going to? We are viewed as national leaders of some sort, and we need to make the standard that we will not participate in this, that they try to say that a man can become a woman. President Trump has just said the policy of the United States is there are two genders, a man and a woman. Those are immutable.
Congressman, before I let you go, I have to ask about some of your colleagues on the Republican side, because you can never underestimate the ability of Republicans in Congress to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. So even though I think most Americans are on the side of common sense on this issue, where do your Republican colleagues stand? Do you think that your colleagues, all the way up to leadership, all the way up to Speaker Johnson, will stand on the side of reality and common sense and hold the line on calling men Mr. and women Miss or Mrs.? Or are people going to give in to the trans ideology?
Well, I've gotten many very positive comments from colleagues and across America. Not every place in America, but most of America, and certainly my constituents in Texas. But yes, look, Mike Johnson is a very fine gentleman. I know that he will stand on the side of truth. Now, I'm not going to promise that every Republican will do that, because I can't tell you that. But I think the majority absolutely will, because the Republican Party stands on the side of truth, and that is that there is a man and there is a woman, and we cannot budge on that issue. If we budge on it, we have given up a tremendous amount of ground on the issue. And as you said, it was one of the primary issues in the last election. We've got to remember that. We've got to stand firm. Now, we have won. We have the trifecta. Let's stand firm.
Absolutely right. If the moral aspect of it, if the justice aspect of it won't convince Republicans, at least recognize it's a political winner too, fellas. Don't throw your political prospects out too. Congressman, not at all surprised that a longtime Green Beret would stand up with some courage and stand up for what's right. I hope that you're right, that the rest of your colleagues will do that. It's a really, really important issue. The left tries to minimize it, but they know there is a lot in a pronoun. There's a lot in a name. There's a lot in a word, and words have meaning, and we need to stand for the truth. Congressman, thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you.
All right. Now, there's so much more to get to. You've probably seen the headlines. The DailyWire has stirred up the usual crazy libs on CNN, MSNBC, talking about a new effort to pardon Derek Chauvin. No matter how much the new Trump administration works to undo the damage caused by Biden and Harris over the last 4 years, the woke movement in America will never truly be over until this injustice is righted. Derek Chauvin did not get a fair trial. He was railroaded to appease the mob. President Trump has power over the federal part of Chauvin's charges. There are also state charges. But he needs to hear loud and clear that the American people want action. Go to pardonderek.com right now, sign the petition. When we fight, we win. With your support, we can do it again. My favorite comment yesterday is from 5% Low Battery. What a great name. It says, quote, "Tradition is a set of solutions for which we have forgotten the problems. Throw away the solution and you get the problem back." Donald Kingsbury, courtship right. So true. You know, on the right, especially in America, we hear a lot of talk about how our politics all comes down to freedom or liberty. or whatever. And it's true, though often people misunderstand what freedom and liberty really mean. But for me, an even more important touchstone, tradition. Tradition. It's very good. It's central to the conservative understanding of the world. Don't we look? New things can be fine. We can improve our society and ourselves, but don't throw out that tradition. It's a set of solutions for problems that we no longer remember. That's really, really good. Now, speaking of the future, speaking of innovators like Elon Musk, the libs are losing it over the supposed threat that Trump is causing to the economy and the world order, that Elon Musk is posing to our government. And they're speaking in increasingly violent terms about it. Sonny Hostin on The View said that the threat of Trump is not only a threat to the country, it's an existential threat. And Democrats need to fight and be willing to die to stop it.
10 Democrats voted to censure Green.
Wow. Do you want a list of the 10?
Do you want to hear their names?
Yes, I do.
Why go after them, too? Go after the Republicans.
Because they don't know how to fight and be part of an opposition party. Representative Green gave them the example. The Democrats are not meeting the moment. It is very clear that Medicaid is on the table. It is very clear that Social Security is on the table. It is very clear that people will die. The baby boomers, the civil rights generation, they knew what they had to do. They were willing to fight and die for their rights. This generation of Congress, they are not meeting the moment. This is an existential crisis.
Trump's an existential threat. Democrats need to fight. Democrats need to be willing to die. Translation, if you got lost in that sea of invective, is Democrats should become violent and they are justified in murdering Trump. That's what she's saying. If someone poses an existential threat to you, that is a justification for your killing that person. That's why there have been multiple assassination attempts on Trump, one of which came within a 20th of an inch of blowing his head off because of that kind of language. Furthermore, if you were at all confused, Sonny Hostin says, if you don't understand what I'm saying, you need to fight and you need to be willing to die. So it's not even speaking rhetorically. She's speaking quite literally. You need to commit violence against Republicans because if you are to die, that would, in a fight, that would entail violence. So she's not really hiding the ball on this at all. However, we've heard all this before. If you're going to call on Democrats to try to murder Trump and engage in political violence, I don't know, at least be original about it. But this is the same thing we heard, not just from these chattering heads on The View, but also from Biden and Harris. This was the premise of Biden's campaign. Trump poses an existential threat to democracy. We need to stop him. So it was all the same stuff. And it didn't work. It just didn't work. It feels so dated. The way that Sonny Hostin here is talking, there are real threats to Medicare and Social Security and Medicaid. Lady, is it 2011? That's such 2011 energy. That's not, Trump has run. He's irritated a lot of Republicans, in fact, because he's run consistently saying, I will not touch entitlements. I will not touch Social Security, Medicare, or Medicaid. Ain't going to happen. Plenty of Republicans have said, no, you should, because that'll help solve our debt problem. It's just so, it's like these people are on autopilot. It's like they just don't have any new ideas, which is why Van Jones is saying the Democrat Party is a nightmare right now, because this is the best they got. The best they got is repeating scaremongering, is repeating a political plan from Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, who went down in total flames in November, the political plan to go murder Trump, and to repeat economic talking points from the Romney campaign, from the Obama presidency. It's just so, of course that's a nightmare. They got nothing, man. It's wrong. What she's doing is immoral, but it's also just so stupid because it clearly hasn't worked. Democrats lost the popular vote for the first time in 20 years because of these kinds of talking points. What are we going to do? We're just going to keep it up, I guess. I guess we'll just keep trying to do it. Okay. Speaking of death, there's a story I want to get to that we haven't gotten to. It's a story from 2 or 3 weeks ago. 70 Christians were massacred in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Okay, this is we've got a story. Do we have the story here? I guess we don't. From the Associated Press. Well, luckily I've got at least a little phrase from it here. Open doors, field sources say the violence began at 4 a.m. on February 13th as militants captured and tied up some 20 Christians in the community of Meba. The militants are suspected to be members of the Allied Democratic Forces, a rebel group with ties to ISIS, to the Islamic State. They captured about 50 other Christians, tied them all up, and they took the 70 Christians to a Protestant church in Kasanga, where they were all killed inside with machetes and hammers. Very few people have covered this story. And there have been reports of other Christian persecutions, and there was actually a study, I believe it was by Pew Research, which showed that Christianity is the most persecuted religion in the world. That remains true. I think it's very important to shed light on this while we're talking about various identity groups and rights and the American empire and the shifting of the global order. It seems to be, whatever the political shift in recent decades, Christians are persecuted. They're subject to more persecution. In Iraq, in Syria, throughout the Levant, in Africa. Well, in America, actually, because not to say that they're being rounded up, not to really draw much of a comparison, but there is political persecution of Christians in America under Joe Biden, who would spy on their churches, who would arrest them for praying and demonstrating outside of abortion mills. Same thing in the United Kingdom. So this is a global phenomenon, and it's a major problem because, as I've said on this show many times, quoting Cardinal Manning, all politics ultimately is theological. There was that clip that went viral yesterday. People are still talking about it, from Sarah Stock, saying that America is grounded in Christianity, in large part in Christianity. And the liberal that she was debating on the Jubilee podcast, Sam Sater, said, no, that's not true. It has nothing to do with Europe, has nothing to do with Christianity. And it obviously does. Until 1960, 93% of Americans were Christian. So when we're asking what's the new world order going to look like, ultimately you got to get down to this question: what do we believe? What do we believe most fundamentally? What do we stand for? Increasing Christian persecution, not a good sign for the world order. Okay, today is Woke Wednesday. The rest of the show continues now. You do not want to miss it. Become a member. Use code Knowles, KNWLAS, at checkout for 2 months free on all annual plans.